Welcome back to Secret of the Andes at King Kong Kid Storytime. It is by Anne Nolan Clark, and we are reading Chapter 7 Questions. The next morning, directly after sunrise, they left. The women had given them packages of dried meat and dried sweet potatoes. The men had given Chuto a gourd of chicha to carry with him. Now they stood on the top terrace, waving to them, the men, the women, and even the children. They were so friendly. Kusi looked back at them and smiled and waved. Now that he was going, his shyness had left him. He called goodbye. Chuto was far on the trail. Chuto was far on the trail. Kusi hastened to overtake him. He could hear the lead llama bell tinkling merrily as the llamas began their morning grazing. Kusi called goodbye to them in passing. The mountain on this far side was not steep. There was no swinging bridge to cross nor frail ladder to climb. I know why we call our valley Hidden Valley, the boy thought. The mountains hide it so well. It's almost as if no one is supposed to find it. The trail led through an open meadow. Chuto pointed out a hacienda in the distance. It was a long, low building of brown adobe mud. It had a sloping roof of bright red tile. As they came nearer, they could see its many doorways and other openings. Chuto called these openings windows and explained their use to the Highland boy. The hacienda was enclosed by a low mud wall. There was a blue gate in the wall. Kusi looked over it and saw a patio filled with growing flowers of many colors. At the back of the low adobe building were green fields sloping down to a lazy river. Men were working the fields with oxen, huge, white, slow-moving, patient beasts. They kept their great heads lowered, looking at the ground and never at the sun. They seemed to say, "We have been conquered. We have nothing to hope for." Looking at them made Kusi sad. They were so big, so dull, so broken. The trail widened into a roadway paved with cobblestones. The stones were rounded and smooth, polished for centuries by passing feet, animal feet, and feet of men, their masters. Men were on the road now. Most of them were walking, but some were riding small brown burros. The burros were not at all like the oxen. They were small and frisky and saucy and gay. Kusi laughed at the funny burros whose long ears seemed too big for them to manage. He laughed again when he saw women riding side saddle on the fat brown donkeys. The women did not mind. They laughed back at him and called to him in a tongue he did not know. Do these people in this country not know how to say words of intelligence? He asked Chuto in surprise. It was Chuto's turn to laugh. They know how to talk. It is you who do not know how to listen, he teased the boy. Oh, Kusi was indignant, and Chuto stopped teasing to explain. These are Spanish people. They are not Indian. Their words are Spanish words, not Indian. He said, perhaps I should teach you Spanish. Yes, that is what I should do. Perhaps. Do you speak Spanish? Kusi asked. I have not heard you. Chuto laughed shortly. With whom would I speak? The llamas know Indian. Chuto pointed to a nearby field where people were planting. There are some Indians, he said. The people of the hacienda and those who work the oxen and ride on burros are not Indian. They are Spanish. Why don't they have llamas instead of burros? Kusi asked. Llamas are better. The old man answered proudly, no one who has a drop of blood not Indian can manage a llama. The llama remembers, he added darkly. In the potato field, a long line of men were working. Each man had a long-handled spade with a foothold tied to it. They worked together and in rhythm. At the call of the leader, each man jumped upward with a shout. Then they came down together, plunging the sharp spade points into the earth of the field. Kneeling on the earth before them was a long line of women. As the men dug the earth, the women turned it with their strong brown hands. Kusi would have liked to stay a long time watching the people working. Chudo was impatient. Their journey was almost at an end. He wanted to get there, to get the salt, and to go home again. At the ruins of the sacred baths of the Inca, they rested. They bathed in the cold water that bubbled in a spring and came from the melted snows of the high Sierras. Chudo told Kusi to sit in the high throne seat carved from solid rock. It was where the Inca had sat in the long ago, when the Inca was mighty ruler of a vast and loyal kingdom. Now a young boy sat there and pulled thoughtfully at his golden earplugs. Was he of the ancient nobility? Was that what the minstrel had meant when he and Chudo talked together? Did the royal blood of ancient kings still flow in the veins of his people? Again, Kusi felt a vague, unknown trouble, like a cloud over the sun of a happy day. Again, he felt a longing in his heart. Was it for kinship? Was it for family? How could he miss what he had not known? Chudo, too, seemed troubled. He sat on a rock seat above the babbling spring that lay in its carved basin of pure white stone. He did not seem impatient now to meet whatever lay before him. He seemed rather to be going backward into days that were gone. You are old for your age, my Kusi, and wise too, I think. Wiser than I when I had your years. Wiser perhaps than that other who chose another way. Kusi could feel his heart beating wildly as he listened to the words Chudo was saying to him. There had been someone else then? Had it been another boy? Kusi wondered what had happened to this other one. Where was he now? Kusi decided to find out. He said, "You speak of someone that I do not know. What other one do you talk about?" Chudo got to his feet. He answered hurriedly, "Not now, not now. My heart does not say that this is the time to tell you things that someday you must know." He looked around worriedly for something new to talk about. Pointing to a distant opening between the faraway mountain peaks, he said, "In that direction, Cuzco lies. Cuzco, the holy city, divided into 4 parts by 3 rivers, and from its heart 4 great roads lead to the 4 corners of the world, that is Peru." The old man looked at the boy to see if he were listening, to see if he were interested. He tried again. 4 roads there were in the days of the Inca, to the mountains, to the valleys, to the pampas, to the sea. But Kusi felt stubborn. "Why do you know these things? Where did you learn them? Why do you never tell me what I want to know?" Chudo, respected one, tell me who I am. The old man looked pleadingly at the boy seated above him. "I must be sure that you have understanding before I speak. Bear with me, my Kusi," he said softly. "I do the best I know." Kusi was embarrassed. He felt ashamed of his fretful questions. Chudo's words made him feel uneasy. What Chudo must tell him, he must be ready to hear. He could learn to wait. He jumped from the Inca seat where he had been sitting. He flashed a quick smile at the worried old one, who smiled in return, in fondness and in gratitude. Glad of an opportunity to change their conversation, both Indians, the old one and the young one, turned away from the ruins of the Inca bath and on to the trail again. They walked along in silence, a comfortable silence. They were companions. Companions have no need for constant talking.